Uh, what I want to talk to you about was AI in general, but specifically our product Fin. We are building this product, and we wanted to build it in the open. So I'm going to share with you what we're learning. We're kind of on the bleeding edge of AI. Like we're working with all of the different kind of LLM providers and pushing hard on like what's possible. And so we have a product, and it's built and it's real, and we want to kind of talk you through it, and hopefully. You'll learn a lot, I hope, from what we're learning. I will try hard not to pitch you this product. I work in product. I'm not a salesperson, but I'm gonna find it hard to not pitch you, to be honest. I'm gonna age myself here, and I might regret saying this. I worked at Google in the mobile team when we launched Android. So that was a long time ago. I worked at Facebook at the height of social a few years later. This to me feels way bigger. Way bigger. And AI is hyped. It's like hyped to shit. I think the hype's real. I think it's real. And the reason that I think it's real is when you see all these examples of things people are building with AI, it's real working code. Like that's the test. It's real working code, real things. And so I think the hype is real, and hopefully you'll learn some stuff about it today. So part one here is going to be about AI, why we're all in on AI. We're absolutely all in on AI. I'm going to show you Fin, kind of describe to you how it works, tell you about what we're learning from the bleeding edge of this technology, and then kind of show you what we're building next, what we're doing next. We think this is like a transformational time, like Owen I think mentioned there, a time of great change. Change is hard, people are change averse, but we believe that you have to lean into that. And all sorts of industries are going to be disrupted by this. All sorts, I don't know if there's any industry that won't be actually quite disrupted by this. And so we're excited about it, as you can tell. Okay, so we've been bringing you bots since about 2016. We've been building bots on the Intercom platform. We've like different types of bots, task bots, custom bots, resolution bots. We had roadmaps for our bots, all sorts of kind of cool, fun things. And then what happened was November 30th. And on November 30th, ChatGPT launched, and everything changed. Everyone's perception of what was possible, what is possible with AI, changed. I personally, like sometimes, I don't know how I describe myself, but I'm not one of these people who kind of like fully buys into all the hype. You know, like Web3, wasn't a thing for me. Crypto, I didn't buy any crypto, But when AI came along through ChatGPT, it was different. It just was very, 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 very different. The kind of future changed overnight. And here internally at Intercom, because we are restarting a startup, we ask ourselves all the time, what would a startup do? We changed overnight. Everything changed. Our roadmaps changed. Our way of working changed. Some parts of our culture changed. And there's like intense energy in Intercom right now. It's kind of crazy at times, chaotic in good ways, I think. Maybe some of our teams would say it's too chaotic, but it needs to be that way. Like if you're building in this time, it needs to feel like that a little bit, to be honest. So we kind of saw early on, we felt early on that the industry we're in, which is building customer service products, that this was going to be transformational for us and for the whole industry at large. Months later, Sal Mountain, who's obviously the co-founder of OpenAI and their CEO, said more or less the same thing. He said, this is the first industry to be heavily disrupted by AI will be customer service. And so we were in this quite early and convinced by this quite early. And so I think the hype is warranted. It just feels really, really big. So when we talk about customer service, typically when people think about customer service, think about like reactive service, things like tickets, or if you have a problem with a product you've bought, you'll kind of go to that company. Honestly, the experience is typically not great. We've yet to really see amazing customer service online at scale. Like we've truly, really yet to see that. But I would say that we all work in customer service. Like everyone here, no matter what your role is, whether you're a co-founder of a startup or working in a product team or whatever it might be, we all work in customer service. And the reason that I say that is because companies can't grow without customers. You cannot grow without customers. And so we like to think of customer service as the act of serving those customers. So I want to show you an example of this. Pretty simple, basic thing. You have a new user trying to get started. The kind of like lifeblood of any kind of growing company is new users trying to get started, and they get confused. Really common, right? I'm sure there's no one in the room here who hasn't experienced this problem or overseen some kind of problem like this. People get confused. What do you want that person to do? You obviously want to, not for them to walk away, you obviously want them to do something like ask a question. Right? You would say, if you're confused, we need to help you, and to help you, you need to talk to us, and then we can hopefully try and fix the problem, and then maybe ultimately fix the problem in the product where the confusion arose. So you want people to ask a question, and there's kind of three different ways this might go down. One is, it could take 2 days for the company to answer. This is like pretty standard customer service. It takes 2 days to answer. What's happened to that new user? They're gone. They're gone. They're done. They're actually probably using the competing product where they got faster service. So you could say, well, what if we're quicker? What if we're like 10 minutes? It takes 10 minutes to get an answer. Again, if you're using a product and you're trying to get started and try the thing, and then it's 10, you're going to wait around for 10 minutes. No one's going to wait around for 10 minutes, right? You need to be really, really motivated to wait around for 10 minutes. But again, this is the standard. These are the kind of things that we expect from all sorts of different types of companies. We think this is going to completely change, because the world we're looking at imminently, it's kind of already here, is you'll get immediate answers. You'll get immediate answers. You'll get AI bots, and I'm going to show you some of this working in a sec. You'll get AI bots, and they'll immediately answer the question. And you can kind of apply this simple example to all sorts of types of things customers do, like getting started, trying to use parts of the product. If a new feature that's come out, you want people to try it too. Like this kind of thing happens all the time. Any kind of company that's trying to grow is trying to do something like this. And AI bots are the answer to a lot of these. So one thing we've seen, a big difference that we've seen when ChatGPT launched, and since then GPT-4, a big thing is that the ROI of bots has completely changed. The OR has gone up, so the return has gone up. We're seeing examples of customers of ours who are seeing 60 to 70% resolution rates. Right? So that means that 60 to 70% of questions that used to go to people, manual, slow, time-consuming, expensive for the business, 60 to 70% of these questions are getting answered accurately, immediately by bots. Like it's mind-blowing stuff. And even with customers of ours who are trying Fin and have like simple help centers, simple knowledge bases, they're seeing on day one numbers like 20, 30%. Like 20, 30% straight out of the box. Like it's just, the technology is just changed. The landscape has just completely changed. And when we think about these things, when you think about the rapid pace of AI, technology only goes in one direction. It only gets better. Like technology doesn't get worse. It's not like, hey, we have 20% today. It's going to get better, not worse. That 20 will be 21 and 22 and 25 and 30. And then lots of companies are going to start seeing big numbers like 40, 50%. And this is, we think, like a really, really great thing. Like it's a transformational thing, and it's a great thing because customer service teams are under pressure. With the kind of downturn in the economy, obviously a lot of companies had to lay people off and like rebalance the books. Customer service teams are hit pretty hard. Like people let go of customer service, they see it as a cost center. It's kind of a number in the spreadsheet in the P&L that they can kind of play around with. So the volume is going up, but the team numbers are going down. The teams are getting smaller. We believe AI is the answer to that. Like really, truly believe AI is the answer to that. And if you think about this world that's like emerging in front of us, where you have 20, then 30, then 40, then 50% of your support volume, 50% of those inbound questions being answered immediately by bots. They never touch the team. So the team now has like 50% less volume. Everything changes. The whole thing changes. What customers experience changes. Like a big metric in customer service is first response time. And a lot of teams pride themselves in trying to have a fast first response time, back to like, hey, we're not 2 days, we're 10 minutes. In this world, in this AI first world, it's 0 seconds. Like, okay, maybe 1 second. It's like, it's nothing. And the customer experience completely changes, and these metrics kind of stop making sense. So what customers experience will completely change. It changes what support agents answer questions about. So support agents today, a lot of people answer the same question over and over again. It like makes the job shit at times. It's not a great use of time for people. So they will now answer questions that can't be answered by bots, because bots can't answer all the questions. They'll answer complicated questions. And the job will become different. The shape of the job will become different. People will be more problem solvers than question answerers. So the support agents will change what they do. The people in support teams will change roles. There's new types of roles we're seeing already. Bots need orchestration. Bots need design. There's all sorts of new types of things emerging there. All the historical metrics and reports kind of, the benchmarks kind of go out the window, and the operational cost of running support completely changes. And so the conversations that support leaders have with their manager, their leader, the CEO, all these things change too. So, does it actually work, right? Does it actually work? This is the question we get. People are, we've been building bots since 2016. A lot of bots are shit, right? Let's be honest. And there's skepticism out there. There's just skepticism that these things can't provide the same experience as my wonderful, beautiful, engaging customer support team. Those wonderful humans over there in that part of the office. The bot could never be as good as that. It's not going to work. It works. It works. And this is why we're re-architecting how we work internally in Intercom. We're trying to turn this 800-person big giant ship to work in all sorts of different, faster ways because the thing just works. And so the skepticism is understandable. People are anxious about it, anxious that it will create mass layoffs, all sorts of different things people worry about. But it does work, and I think it's going to be a very, very, very positive thing that we'll get to in a second. Okay, so when thinking about AI bots for customer service, there's basically two parts to this. There's knowledge and reasoning. Knowledge is just the content that's in the model, the knowledge that you give the bot. Without knowledge, the bot really can't say anything. And then there's reasoning. Can the bot reason? Kind of work out, okay, based on the knowledge I have and based on the question I'm being asked, can I reason and try and predict what the answer might be? ChatGPT was very good at reasoning. We were asking all sorts of questions. People are trying to trick it, and it was amazing. It was mind-blowingly good at reasoning. And then GPT-4 came out, and we had early access to GPT-4. We've been building on GPT-4 since the very early days. That was way better. ChatGPT was good, and GPT-4 was way better, just way better. ChatGPT lied a lot. GPT-4 still lies a little bit. Doesn't lie as much, right? So ChatGPT-4 very good at reasoning. The knowledge, though, is the other part of the equation. Without great knowledge, you can't reason as much in accurate ways. So I'll come back to that in a second, too. So let me just show you Finn. Let me kind of show you how this works, show you what we've built, and then I'll kind of talk to you about what we've learned. It's in beta right now. We have a bunch of customers using it. Some big, really big customers using it at scale. We're learning all sorts of kind of fascinating things. This is Finn, and Finn is conversational. It can understand language like ChatGPT. So let me play this video. Understands prior context. So Finn's saying, hi there, how can I help? Someone's saying, again, Airbnb, can I change the date of my reservation? Here's the answer, right? So it's already sourcing the answer immediately. Zero latency, here's the answer. You can click in. This is kind of the Help Center article. You can go back. Did it answer your question? Mostly, is there a charge? So in bots of the past, mostly, is there a charge? Doesn't make any sense as an individual question. But Finn remembers, right? It's based on GPT, so it can remember the context. Are pets allowed? Again, this question out of context makes no sense. So it understands it all, and it can give the content. Second thing is it can disambiguate. So people ask questions like this. How do I split between a group? What does that even mean, right? That's it's the way people talk, but it's not clear what that means. And so the bot will disambiguate. Finn will disambiguate and ask, what do you mean? And so it'll ask people to clarify the question. And sometimes it'll say, hey, I can't find exactly what you need. Let me play that again. But it'll give things that it thinks might help. Right? So it's reasoning and trying to figure out what the person's asking. So it'll clarify the question, and people can rephrase the question. And it doesn't have a perfect answer here, but it says, hey, I think these two things might help. And actually, in this case, it's pretty accurate. It is a thing that people are looking for. So it can disambiguate. Again, this is just this blew our minds. The fact that we could apply this to customer service, and it was extremely accurate, kind of blew our minds. The next thing about it is there's zero setup. Zero setup. So with all bots prior to GPT, you had to train it. You had to use big, giant kind of manual processes to train the bot and kind of tell it what you want and that's not quite right the answer. We need to do a different thing. Huge setup, huge cost, huge overhead. And again, we were holy shit, you just point this thing at a URL. This is literally the real setup phase for Finn. which is enter the URL of your support content, like your public help center, and it just works straight out of the box, straight away. The next thing is that it provides trustworthy, accurate answers. So with ChatGPT, people are trying to ask it all sorts of things like, does God exist? And with GPT-4, which is what Fin is built on, you can completely constrain the content it speaks about. And so in this case, if Airbnb's help center, I guess this example is kind of get a bit strange, has content about God, it'll answer about it. It'll talk about it, but if it doesn't, it won't. And if it doesn't, it does this. So someone's here like, hey, can you book a flight? Obviously, Airbnb's not about booking flights. And I'll say, hey, I don't have any information about booking flights. Right? And so anytime it doesn't have an answer in the content, it'll say, hey, I don't have information about what they asked about. Can I help with anything else? So you can really, really constrain what it answers, and that therefore doesn't lie, and it's very trustworthy. The next piece is that you can seamlessly hand over to a human support agent. You can orchestrate all this to be very deliberate. So here it's like, this is like the book a flight thing, and it's like, hey, can I book a package of a flight and a stay B&B reservation? And it's like, I can't help you with that, but I can hand you over to a teammate. And so one big thing, and there's the kind of human support then coming in, and again, it's all real time. One of the big things we believe is that like AI and human support have to work together. They've got to work together. AI will not replace all of human support. There's often times when people need to speak to a person, whether the question is complex, like I said earlier, it needs problem solving, or sometimes, honestly, people just want their customers to talk to a person. Like their VIP team always gets the kind of differentiated human support experience. So lots of reasons why people want to do that. So what have we learned so far? Like this thing's been in beta for a while, and we've learned a ton of things. The first thing that we've learned is that, and this is like part of the pitch, our customers love Fin. We're loving Fin, amazing, that's easy. Every answer I've seen is either 100% correct or been handed correctly to an agent. By the way, Fin isn't perfect. I'm going to show you this in a second. It's not perfect. But generally speaking, customers love it. Like they get it. It's the next generation. It's obviously going to help their customers. Their customers really enjoy talking to Fin too. So like down here, it's like, these are all real examples, real conversations with Fin. We have a Slack channel called Conversations with Fin. Is there a way to raise a data tag? Fin is like, yeah, there is a way, blah, blah, blah. Yes, awesome, AI bot. Love you. And like we see this kind of stuff all the time. Like here's another one. Did it answer a question? Yes, thanks. Great. I'm happy to answer more questions, says Fin. Goodbye, AI bot. You're my new best friend. Right? And so we're seeing like people, like Fin says, goodbye, it's nice talking to you. We see people like talking to Fin like they talk to other people. Like it's kind of mad and fun. And this is like giving us confidence that like there's no need to be skeptical of the customer experience you're going to deliver. Yes, sometimes Fin will get stuff wrong, and I'll show you that in a second. But generally speaking, when it's good, it's really good, and people love talking to the bot. Like it's amazing to us how quickly people have adapted, and it's not that weird. They just don't think it's that weird an experience. Here's an example of a really complex conversation that Fin handled. Someone says, I tried changing the background color, but it won't take. Like, what does that even mean, won't take? I guess you kind of figured that out. Can you tell me what steps you took to change the background color, says Fin. I use my hex color, click enter, it won't work. Right, and then Fin says, hey, to change the font color, your hyperlinks, blah, blah, blah. And someone says, yeah, I got it. So like this whole like back and forth, reasonably complex question. It's disambiguating. It's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. It's reasoning, like very good at reasoning, and it worked out. Here's an example where Fin, like, you're like, oh, okay, that's not a person, is it? Can you clarify what you need help with? Hey, it's okay. And then Fin says, a polite goodbye message, which isn't quite the same as actually delivering a polite goodbye message. So like it does get things wrong sometimes, and sometimes the questions it just does stuff like this. And so we're obviously still working on it, and it's early days, but sometimes people think this stuff is kind of fun too. So like I said, it's very good at reasoning. It's very, very good at reasoning. But the biggest thing we've learned so far from the beta is that people's knowledge isn't up to date. All the content that people put into Fin isn't up to date. And a lot of help centers from a lot of companies, the content was like done by the last person who worked in the job 2 years ago, and the whole product changed since. And so just all this out-of-date content. One of the most common things that happens is customers say to us, Fin's answering wrong, it's saying the wrong things. And you look back and it's like, actually it's saying the right thing, but the content's out of date. And so a huge investment is happening in content. Orchestration is another one where you got to orchestrate all these things. You've got to think about how the bot, like what's your kind of bot strategy, or like how you're going to design how these bots work together. And so we've built a thing called workflows to do that. It's like a kind of a visual drag and drop editor where you can kind of decide when does Fin kick in. Sometimes Fin hands over to other bots. Sometimes Fin hands over to humans. And so you can orchestrate this whole experience. And that's going to be like another huge thing. Again, some of the customer support agents today who will no longer answer questions because Fin does, they'll do this. And like no better people to do this type of thing than the people who already work in the team. Okay, so the kind of last piece here is what's going to happen next, and then what are we building next? So again, like I said at the start, we are like all in on AI. We just every day at Intercom these days is like a new day. There's just new shit that's happening, new types of things we're figuring out, and customers are figuring out they can do it Fin. So these are the kind of things we're seeing that are going to happen next with this. One, huge focus on knowledge creation and management. Like again, in my past, I've worked on things like wikis, and no one keeps them up to date. People like make these beautiful wikis, like really beautiful things, and then like it kind of just dies on the vine days, weeks, months later. This is going to have to be a really big investment area for companies. Not just for customer service, but for all types of AI that uses content. Human support will be more rewarding. We'll see like it's more creative, it's going to be problem solving oriented, all the repetitive shit will go away, like it'll just be a much more enjoyable, engaging job. We think that's a great thing. Support teams will be smaller for sure, but we don't imagine like mass layoffs. That's not the type of thing that any of our customers talk about. Even the ones who are like very AI first, they're not talking about like, oh, awesome, like my support team, save all the money. That they're talking about like, hey, the team will get smaller. We'll manage that through attrition. People quit. Like one of the biggest problems in support is high turnover of staff. People will quit. That's fine. We'll manage it. And then lots of people will like redeploy it into like more interesting areas like bot orchestration and content and so on. Yeah, they'll have new interesting roles. Service quality will increase. Like one of the big things we've been talking about at Intercom is the history of automation. Like what happens when you automate things in the past? And oftentimes the quality of these things goes up. So like really quick example, 1950s was kind of when like kind of electric appliances, modern appliances started to become mass produced and the norm. And the kind of the thing at the time was like all this manual labor, manual house cleaning, cooking. That's all going to go away, and people will be freed up to like have leisure time and walk in the park because all these appliances will do all that work that we do manually today. That's not what happened. What happened was the expectations of how clean your house should be went up, right? And so people are spending the same amount of time just using the damn things that they bought for a lot of money. So we think this will apply here too, that actually the quality of service, the customer service online today, not great in general. It will get better, way better. It's going to be really, really good for customers and really, really good for business. And then last thing, it's going to happen slowly, and then it's going to happen really, 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 really fast. You see this a lot with kind of these transformational technologies. Like mobile was the same. The internet was kind of the same, even going all the way back there. It happens slowly at first. There's like skepticism, maybe a bit of cynicism too, the big promise, the kind of trough of disillusionment, and then suddenly it happens like overnight. It happens overnight. And this is exactly where we are with AI for customer service, we believe. We're in this like slow, proving it out, testing it. Fin says a polite goodbye message. Like we're not quite there, but it'll happen really fast. And we believe that any customer support team who's kind of like thinking about this stuff, which all should be, will have some kind of AI strategy by the end of the year. They've got to. They've got to. Okay, so then the last thing for me today is what we're building next. Hope you might like a sneak peek of what's happening next with Fin. There's a lot of stuff here, by the way. More sources. We're going to add more sources. So today you can point Fin at your help center. Increasingly, you're going to be able to point it at anything. Any URL, internal content, Notion, wikis, whatever you want. Upload PDFs, whatever you want. So you'll be able to have like lots and lots of sources that you can point Fin to. Targeting. Hey, we only want certain people to get Fin. We don't want VIPs to get Fin. We want to get them to get humans. We want to differentiate in our like personal service. Whatever it is. You can target Fin. We're going to have a big content library. Like this idea of like managing knowledge, managing content's massive. So we're going to build a central content library from which you can organize and orchestrate all your content. Omni-channel, so like Fin and WhatsApp, all sorts of other channels, Instagram, whatever. So Fin would be like fully omni-channel. Routing controls, you can kind of decide what happens when Fin hands over things to teammates. What does it do exactly? So you can kind of control the experience. Custom answers is a big one. So like again, one thing we learned from customers testing Fin in beta is oftentimes some questions are just way more important than other questions. Like this, a lot of companies have like these 5 questions. There are big ones. They're the most important questions we get, and we don't want them to have to like Finn working in real time what the answer might be. We want to like handcraft the exact thing that points to the very specific video or whatever it is, or flow that we've built. So very, very specific custom answers for the most important questions that you want control over. With better previews, again, people are kind of like, how does Finn work in the wild? You know, I'm not really sure if I'm ready to deploy to the whole customer base. So better previewing. A home for Finn that'll have like all the little different pieces you need, inbox, reporting, stuff like that. And I mentioned inbox. This is like a really, really big one. All Finn conversations show up in the Intercom inbox. And so people can look at what Finn's saying. You can use it like I did to pull out kind of funny things, but like more importantly, probably use it to see if it's actually answering accurately. So the Finn inbox is a really, really important part of the experience. Reporting I mentioned, lots more reporting on Finn. Manage costs. Like one of the big things with AI right now is like, I'm sure some of you are kind of plugged into this world, like things like how much does it cost? It's quite expensive. Latency, GPU capacity. Like there's a whole bunch of things that like, again, like this, I kind of talked about the bleeding edge. We're on the bleeding edge. We're pushing these boundaries of like what's possible. And people want to manage costs. They want to kind of try to figure out how this stuff will go out of their bank account. And then lastly, very last thing, and I'll wrap up, is Des kind of coined this phrase. It's a great phrase. We want Finn to answer questions for the first and last time. What does that mean? Anytime someone talks to human support and asks a question, like a new question, we want Finn to learn the answer to that question. And then every time it's asked again, Finn will answer it. Right? Like it's amazing, amazing flywheel. It will be like technologically interesting for us to get that right, but it's going to come. And this is where you're like, oh my God, you know, this is going to totally change how customer service works. You will want customer service reps, again, the job will be way more interesting, because every time they answer a question, it'll be like a new type of question, because Finn will have codified the answer to the prior question. So really kind of cool stuff there. That's it from me. This is our URL if you want to try Finn. There's the Stay B&B demos on the page. You can try it for yourself, ask it questions, try and break it if you want. That's it. Thanks.